Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Beyond Useful Games Top 10's Grand Re-Entry. We'd like to apologize for the long delay, but community stuff has arisen and we were very busy working on it. So, without further ado, let's get to the top 10 zombie games. Number 10, Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil is a science fiction action horror Capcom video game. In Resident Evil 4, Special Agent Leon S. Kennedy is sent on a mission to rescue the United States President's daughter, who has been kidnapped. Finding his way through a rural village in Europe, he faces new threats that are a departure from the traditional lumbering enemies of the earlier installments in the series. Number 9. Infestation Survivor Stories. Infestation is a survival horror MMO that immerses players in a zombie-infested post-apocalyptic world in which a viral outbreak has decimated the human population, leaving it in its wake. A nightmare of epic proportion indeed. This game features some very tactical situations, traps, etc. to help the player survive the day against bandits or help them become one. Number 8. 7 Days to Die. 7 Days to Die builds on survival and horror themes. Players in 7 Days to Die can scavenge the abandoned cities of a buildable and destructible sandbox world. The game's events happen after a nuclear Third World War that destroyed most of the world. The player is a survivor of the war who must survive by finding shelter, food, water, and supplies. Though there is no real objective quite yet, the developers are hinting at a possible storyline to be added in later updates. Number 7. H1Z1. H1Z1 is a survival sandbox MMO in development by Daybreak Game Community, more formally known as Sony Online Entertainment. H1Z1 is being developed for Microsoft Windows and eventually PlayStation 4. The game is set during a zombie apocalypse in rural USA America, in which players will have to survive against things such as natural elements, hordes of undead, and thousands of other potentially hostile survivors. Through interactions such as scavenging for resources, building shelters, and crafting, there will be a lot of bloodshed. Number 6. The Walking Dead Season 1 and Season 2. The Walking Dead seasons were made by Telltale Games. Season 1 takes place in the same fictional world as the comic, with events occurring shortly after the onset of the zombie apocalypse in Georgia. The game centers on the university professor and convicted murderer, Lee Everett, who helps rescue and subsequently take care of a young girl named Clementine. Unlike in many graphic adventure games, The Walking Dead does not emphasize puzzle solving, but instead focuses on story and character development. The story is affected by both dialogue choices and the player and their actions during quick-time events. Number 5. Silent Hill. Silent Hill is a horror media franchise published by Konami Digital Entertainment. The first of several horror video games in the series include Silent Hill, Silent Hill 2, Silent Hill 3, and 4. Silent Hill Revelations were all developed by an internal group called Team Silent. The later 6 games, including Origins, Homecoming, Shattered Memories, Downpour, Book of Memories, and PT, were developed by other unrelated groups. The Silent Hill franchise has expanded to include various books and 2 feature films. Number 4. The Left 4 Dead franchise. The Left 4 Dead franchise is a cooperative first-person shooter survival video game developed by Valve Corporation. Set in the days after a pandemic outbreak of the viral strain transforming the majority of the population into zombie-like feral creatures, the game follows the adventures of 4 survivors attempting to reach safe houses and military rescue while fending off the attacking hordes. The game encourages cooperative play between up to 4 players, each taking on the role of one survival character. Players use a combination of melee weapons, firearms, and other weapons to fend off attacks from a bulk of infected creatures, while using an assortment of healing items to keep their group alive. Certain unique infected creatures pose more difficult challenges, typically requiring teamwork to take down efficiently. Number 3. Killing Floor. Killing Floor was developed and published by Tripwire Interactive. Killing Floor is a first-person shooter allowing each player to move through a 3D environment. Gameplay consists of two types, in which the player fights a zombie-esque specimen in large waves, which become more and more difficult as the game progresses. The rounds eventually end in a boss battle against a boss called the Patriarch. Players can earn in-game money for each kill, as well as for surviving the end of the round, in which they use to buy explosives, more weapons, and firearms. Players are encouraged to work together to survive. Number 2. The Last of Us. The Last of Us is an action-adventure survival horror video game developed by Naughty Dog and published by Sony Computer Entertainment. It was released for the PlayStation 3 on June 14, 2013. The Last of Us played in the third-person perspective. Players can use firearms, improvised weapons, and stealth to defend against hostile humans, as well as zombie-like creatures infected with a mutant strain of a fungus. Players can also use Listen mode to locate enemies through a heightened sense of hearing and spiritual awareness. Players can also customize weapons and items scavenged from the environment. Number 1. Dead Island. Dead Island is a 2011 action role-playing survival horror video game developed by Polish developer Techland and published by German studio Deep Silver. Dead Island features an open world divided by relatively large areas. Most of the gameplay is built around combat and completing quests. Upon leveling up, the player gains health and stamina, as well as the ability to invest one skill point into their skill tree and level up one of their skills. Combat is carried out through either physical attacks or through use of melee weapons and firearms.